Good day. Today is May 24th, 2021. And I'm coming to you from my minivan again. I've got kind of a cocoon here to keep the bright lights from totally destroying the film here, the video that I'm doing this morning. It's about 62 outside right now. Incidentally, this is being brought to you by solar power, so I'm not connected to the grid. The grid that's patented by the City of London, formerly the East India Trading Company. I'm going to focus in on three concepts today. Alien, anti-gravity, and banker's contract. Now, you've heard all kinds of words on this by the experts and all sorts of other people. But I want you to keep in mind that's often said in the past that he who walks the walk or walks the talk is the one who is really knowledgeable on the subject. Another way is you can tell by the actions. It's the actions that count, not the words, not the propaganda that you hear over the media, the bankers' media. So anyway, getting right into it, I've never liked the word alien and anti-gravity because they're misleading. I prefer the word foreigner, and functional gravity, because that's what it is. If you really understand these concepts, it's what most people are talking about. Anti-gravity is not anti-gravity, it's functional gravity. It's using gravity. So somebody that's using the term anti-gravity, as I've said before in my other videos and books, they're not really knowledgeable on the subject, or they wouldn't call it anti-gravity. The same with alien. What has come to be known as alien or extra-terrestrial is nothing of that sort, because all creation is related, because it's all done by a great creator, or whatever you want to call it. It's just is. It's the tree of life. So, functional gravity, a ship that is functioning in gravity, is a self-contained object, just like nature. Another way of looking at all this is patents versus natural. Patents being the bankers' hit the wrong button again. I should get somebody that knows what they're doing on computers to get me to, so this doesn't shut off. It just goes to screen blank. Anyway, where was I? Patents versus the natural laws, the natural way. Patents being the City of London's grid, so they claim ownership. This is what you do when you sign over or sign up for representative government or a representative anything. You're passing your power of attorney over to the grid, the City of London, the bankers, the banksters. And to solve the problems today, the corruption, the media tells you to look to the bankers, the Great Reset. They've been giving you the shaft for centuries, and the media tells you to, and the universities tell you to go to these same banksters for the solutions. Oh, they're going to come up with something new, something they say is going to fix everything, that's going to make life better, but in reality it's just going to give you a bigger shaft and continue the corruption and make it even greater for their pocketbook or for their separation from you. Yes, there is a separation. There's a separation been going on since World War II. The future this summer and beyond, you're going to hear more and more about the final Great War, World War IV, or whatever you want to call it, the space war, the alien war, the alien invasion. But it's just going to be another ploy by the bankers, because all wars are bankers' wars. And until you realize that and get off the tree of good and evil and go back to nature's way, the tree of life, you're just going to keep going around and around and around and keep degenerating. Now, you hear a lot of talk about the gray aliens, the gray extraterrestrials. Now, I've claimed that they're nothing other than humans of the future, present today, coming back to try to solve the problems that they created by thinking that they had a better way than the natural ways. This is just like modern medicine, same thing, or the COVID identification marks that they're injecting into you under the excuse that there's a virus out there gonna kill us all. And so you need to take this patented mRNA substance into you, these nanobots, so they're going to be producing whatever they're programmed to produce, antennas, or and utilizing your iron out of your blood. That's why the magnets are sticking to some people's arms. Incidentally, some people that are in the know are claiming that there's a lot of placebo vaccinations being given out. There's just saline. Some are saying 40 to 60%. And hopefully those of you that have gotten the jab have gotten the saline. But eventually, with your second vaccination or jab, or the booster jabs, or the jab next year for the next COVID, just like all the other vaccinations that have been given for flu shots, although these are more and more so. All you have to do is read the paperwork that's been put out years ago by the vaccine companies on what their future, which are now present vaccines, are going to be capable of. And that was a number of years ago. Of course, the science that you don't know about is being advanced all the time. So only they, and even they don't even know what they're doing and what they've got in line for those who receive the jab. Now, I maybe sound like I'm drifting, but all this does tie together. You're going to be hearing more and more by some people, such as Project Camelot, and well, they were talking about the death of, was it Michael I should have written the name down. Another suiciding, McCavanagh, who was bringing out stuff about drawings of so-called UFOs, and I looked at one of them, and basically it's nothing more than a upgraded bell, German bell, that the Germans were working on back in the 1930s. So there again, you hear all this talk from the so-called experts, and if you really look at the things, there's really no basis to it. Where I've talked about the saucer-shaped craft with a dome on top, if you entered them, which you do under the underbelly, under the ramp, and you go throughout the ship, you end up going, oh, where's the engine? Where's this so-called blueprints of this 1930s updated UFO? Is everywhere you go, you see machinery that runs the ship, complicated machinery. Whereas Silvercraft dome flying saucer, when you enter it, you never find the engine because the entire ship is the engine. I've described in my other videos and books on that by utilizing the fourth phase of matter, material, substances, the shell of the ship, the skin, is multi-layers. So what you have is, what you are in is basically one large capacitor, and it operates just like the Earth. Now, the Earth does a lot of things, naturally. It's a self-contained gravity object, a functioning gravity object, and it's, in a sense, a capacitor. In a sense, it's an electric motor. And it does all this, and you don't really see any mechanicisms because everything is operating as one unit, and that's just the way the ultimate flying saucer is. Now there are many different ways of traveling in time, or traveling in dimensions, going from point A to point B. But I'm telling you the superior one, and it follows the natural order. It's just like I've said before on an engineer, an aerodynamic engineer, describing how a wing creates lift by the two difference of the speed going over the wing and under the wing. And I'm not saying that that's not true. I'm saying that the real reason a winged airplane flies is because of the Coanda effect, which is a sticking effect of the different medias, the top surface of the wing. It's adhesion. But they say I'm just a crazy guy living in a van, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Foreign as opposed to alien. We're all members of different tribes. This is our bloodline, so this is important. But we are all related through degeneration or through evolution or through the original creation, through time. So we may be, a better way to look at it is we're, in a sense, foreign to each other, depending how much we've drifted apart. And that's the way a corporation is foreign to a government that is set up under a constitution. And what 99.99% of you people out there are living under a banker's contract, a corporate codes through the City of London. And that's just the way it is. And if you look at it that way, you'll understand, and you'll be able to get out of all this corruption. You'll be able to separate yourself from the corporation. It's 12 minutes. This was going to be, I was hoping, the most important video because it's an updated version. So, rather than fall for this future space war that is going to be carried on because of misunderstanding, if you keep following the media, the corporate media propaganda, is going to be more about spirits or demons versus physical presence of man. The spirit side of man, or the soul, is just one segment, but we're living in the physical world, so there's no point in contacting spirits that have been abandoned on this earth, because they can say anything or claim anything they want to, and they have contact or availability to a little bit more knowledge than a lot of you have. And they can claim anything, just like somebody coming on TV claiming to be a great expert. You're having to take him as his word ultimately. But as I began to say in the beginning of this video, you should follow or pay attention to those who carry on by their actions, not by their words, not by their fancy talk, not by their fast talk, not by their fat cat talk, not by their wallet, not by how corrupt they are, not by how tied in with the banksters they are, because the banksters have many, many, many minions under them, many, many bloodsuckers under them, and I mean this literally too. So you want to stay with Trump, who is just another corporate president, or you want to follow the fake Biden, make a fool of yourself listening to Pelosi, AOC, and all the other Democrats that are put out there by the media to show you how crazy they are and how foolish you are to listen to them. And so maybe you'll listen to the radio personalities that are claiming to be conservatives. And if you listen to them, they're just telling you, well, the Great Reset, the Banksters are going to come out. Of course, they don't call them Banksters. They call them the Great Expert, knowledgeable of how borrowing and lending is contrived. And they'll tell you that it's coming, or that, under a Republican form of government, you're going to get the truth. And yet, all the Republican presidents have actually passed more draconian laws and codes in the past than the Democrats, if you really understand the history. Where was I? Get back on focus. It's a great separation, and this past year has been the greatest chance to separate, and it's being done maybe by the jab, the vaccinations, because those who receive the jab are going to be changing more, maybe not so much physically, but inside their souls, their way their bodies are going to be operating, which are all patented by the likes of Bill Gates types and George Soros and the people who run them, the Banksters. You're going to be part of the grid, the great grid, and you're going to be controlled by the messages that they send into you over the 5G network or all the different electronic networks that are going on. Yeah, I'm drifting again. Anyway, you've been exposed to so much in the since the shutdown, with the excuse of the great virus, the COVID-19, that those who are seeking the truth and want to learn more have had quite an education. A lot of you were still believing the media a year ago. Now, those wise ones are not listening to Dr. Fauci and Janet Yellen. They realize they're just full of baloney. They're talking nothing but lies. Maybe because they're really that ignorant. Fauci, the great Fauci, has more time and grade in the commercial setup, the government, however you want to call it, your representatives, that only you have to blame. So don't pass the buck. The only way you're going to get out of this is take on responsibilities for yourself, self-responsibility. That's what self-governing is. That's what Anna von Reitz is trying to tell you all. The power is in the county. You can set up your own, not thinking that this is the corporate government way, but actually self-govern, not have a representative through the Banksters. This is just a repeat of everything I've said in my other videos, I guess. Trying to tie it together in a little bit different package so it'll be more recognizable. So yeah, I've covered the functional gravity as opposed to the misunderstood anti-gravity. Aliens are not really aliens. They're just more foreign to what you're used to. So there's no race war out there. There's just a misunderstanding, a competition between the tree of good and evil and the tree of life, that which is the natural way, as opposed to the grid, the way that man thinks that he can come up with a better idea, the pharmaceutical way, the gray way. So whether you want to believe in extraterrestrial reptilians and think kind of like what David Icke talks about, or you want to just look at it as a reptilian-type brain or a gray-type degenerated brain, a hybrid, a degeneration. What you're getting through these jabs, these vaccinations, these so-called vaccinations, you're getting a reprogramming of the human body, and it's in a degenerate form. So through the vaccination program, the jabbing program, you're hurrying up, which what devolution, degeneration might have taken 1,000 years or 10,000 years, you're going to get it in less than 2 generations, maybe even 5 or 6 years. On the inside, the bodies, if they continue along this way, are going to be reprogrammed and controlled to such an amount that you're going to have a very rapid degeneration of the species that walk and suck blood, eat children, or just use other people's money, by that's what communism is. You're taking from those who produce and giving it to those who non-produce, and that those who are doing the taking, they take their cut in excuse that they're giving out it to the poor, who the poor are poor because they don't handle their own well-being. They're not self-responsible. I wouldn't mind helping out a poor person through taxes or whatever if that person would live as frugally as I. But every person I've known that has been sucking other people's blood goes through stuff so fast because they don't know what $1 is worth. They get something and pretty soon it's gone. So they need much more to sustain themselves than the person who has learned through the work ethic of what work is valuable. Anna von Reitz is the only one that's come out with a value system that's actually functional, that doesn't work like the Banksters. I'll try to leave a link to one of her article, her best article that I've read on assets based on your work ethic that you're capable of working on throughout one's life or from year to year. a true asset-based economy would be based on something real, your knowledge, and a balance of precious metals and other valued minerals, as opposed to the banksters' dreamed-up lie of borrowing from them so that you're always in debt to them because they created this great idea that funnels money to them and takes money away from the workers, the people who are actually producing something. And that's what the great battle is between the producers and the non-producers, between the people who know as opposed to the people who believe. There's no race war out there. There's just a competition between ignorance, propaganda. So, let's see. Is that enough? Review this again and again if you need to. Look at some of my older videos, if you can find them, such as Bitchute. It takes 15 minutes to download, roughly, one of my videos, and then you don't even get the picture of my face here looking at you and talking slowly, which I've said before you can speed up by resetting faster under setting. So, there you have it in a nutshell. Good luck and good day. Bye, y'all.